Check this.
Hey guys, welcome back. Sorry to keep you on a cliffhanger in last video on the annual training plan. It was really getting too long, but no worries. Here's the follow-up video on my own seasonal goals, my own training objectives, how all of the theory of Joe Friel's book applies to me. And hopefully it's an inspiration for you guys to put your own goals and your own training objectives on paper and decide whether you want to train based on TSS or on hours, depending if you have a power meter or not. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks, and let's get started.
So how does that now measure up against my own goals? Let's have a look on what I've got planned for myself in 2019. So goal number 1, and remember, you should not have more than 5 goals, priority 1 goals. So I've set about 4 goals for myself in order of importance. Let's start with priority 1. Every year I go to a event which is organized by a very cool company called Westcon. They're an IT distributor, and every year we do an event together where we climb a certain col in a certain big mountain in the Alps or the Pyrenees. This year it's Col de la Bonnette in France, a very well-known, a very high col. It goes up to 2,800 meters. It's, I think, a 25-kilometer climb, so really a big one. And also the second event they always do in that same week is a more or less flat time trial. So those two things are 2 races, 2 days apart. This year I would like to win the time trial, and assuming it will be like the other years between a, let's say, 10 and 25 minute ride, I want to aim for a power of around 350 watts. So 350 watts, that's assuming it will be about a 20-minute time trial. If it would be a 10-minute, I'll probably aim for 380 watts or something like that. If it would be 30 minutes, I'll probably aim for 335 watts or something like that. I don't know the course yet, but at least I know the date, so it's time-bound. It's specific. I know I want to win it. It's measurable. I want to win it at so many watts. The second thing is the climb itself, the main event. Had a look at Strava, at some of the climb times. I know which altitude meters per hour I can make. So my VAM, I'm aiming for a VAM of about 1,100 meters per hour. And then the ambitious goal is to do this climb in about 1 hour and 30 minutes or about 315 watt average. So again, time bound. We know the exact date already. I think it's 25th June this year. I know the length of the course. I know what other people are doing on Strava with similar capabilities than I have. And it will be very difficult to beat my main rival, which is also my best friend. I know, but that's the ambitious part of it, right? Second goal, the Gran Fondo Schleck is a new Gran Fondo that was organized the first time 2 years ago. It's a 155 kilometer race, Gran Fondo race, 25th of May this year in Luxembourg, in Mondorf-les-Bains. It's the 3rd time I do it, so I know what to expect. So I want to do the 155 kilometers in about 4 hours, 25 minutes, which would put me over the 35 kilometer an hour average mark. So that's also a very clear, specific, ambitious, but realistic goal. Third goal, the Epic 300 ride, beginning of May, I think 3rd or 4th, no, 5th of May, 300 kilometer ride, so first time above 300 kilometer. I would like to do that at a speed of more than 30 kilometer an hour average, but we're doing it in a small group, so this is why it's only a priority 3 group. The main goal is to make a nice day out of it, make it very epic. It's not every day you ride 300 kilometers. So I put that as a goal, but priority 3. Priority 4 is another race, another Gran Fondo Cyclo Sportif, as they call it in French, the Vélomedian Criquelion, which is always the last Saturday of August. That's 163 kilometers with about 3,000 meters of height difference. I would like to do that in 5 hours 25. 30 kilometers an hour average, which would probably put me at a normalized power of about 260 to 270 watts. Why is it only on place 4 this year? Well, we're also doing with the family a big trip of 4 weeks in the US in July. So I'm not so sure if I will be able to train for this one month later after a month of not training and without a doubt eating too many fatty hamburgers in the States. That's why I have put it on number 4 this year. Probably else, if I would not go this big holiday this year, I would probably have put it on number 2 or number 3. So those are the season goals. So how am I going to achieve those? I'm going to try to achieve those by having the right training objective, right? To reach my goals. So objective number 1, body weight. Remember the goal is to do a climb, and climbing and time trialing is actually, well, if you do one climb versus a time trial, it's quite the similar abilities that you need. You need to do a high power if you want to be a power climber, but for climbing you also need a low body weight. So this has been my struggle over the last years. So I've been very specific in setting some training objective by weighing 77 kilos by March 1st and 74 kilos on April 15th. We're now February. I'm on 79, so not great, not bad either. So it's still achievable, but I will have to work on it. The fact that it was very bad weather for weeks and weeks did not help a lot in training, which also did not help a lot in being already 1 kilo lower than, well, actually 1 kilo higher than I would have wanted to be at this time. But okay, it's still achievable. Another objective is my FTP test. So FTP tests is a 20-minute all-out ride. So you can actually look at it as a 20-minute time trial. The good news is that for the Westcon time trial, every FTP test is a very specific race-like training. And by FTP test number 5, because I've planned about 5 of them in the season, which I plan to do by the end of May, I would like to reach 330 watts, 20 minutes, which would put me, if I weigh those 74 kilos of above there, at 4.24 watts a kilo, which I think should be enough to then get me ready in the weeks to come to reach those priority 1 goals from the previous slide. Training objective number 3, work on some of my weaknesses. So remember weaknesses and strength. I think some of my weaknesses are that I did not do a lot of strength training, and I also did not do a lot of pedaling skills. So I'm going to focus in the base periods, which is February, March, January, at least 1 workout focused on muscular strength and 1 workout focused on pedaling skills. So souplesse, as they say in French. I've been doing that a little bit. Not enough because I haven't been training enough in general. I've been a bit sick, unfortunately, the last week. And like I said, we had really bad weather and you can only do so much Zwift, right? A couple of hours Zwift a week, great, but not every week, 10, 12 hours. It starts to get a little bit tedious. And that's what I've been experiencing. So I've been really looking forward to some better weather these days in Belgium. Last but not least, cross train. I've never done a lot of cross training, so I started to do things like core stability and through strength training using weights. I've been not too bad in January. I've let it slip a little bit the last 2 weeks. Again, not feeling too well, back pain a little bit. So I have to pick it up again, but I'm happy with what I did the past couple of weeks. Just have to make sure I don't let it slip. So I try to do 20 to 30 minute per sessions on core stability and on strength training with some moderate weights. So I'm not a weightlifter, so I do it carefully. I try to look at form and posture, but nevertheless, I need to do better at it because it's been slipping the last 2 weeks. So work to do for me. So those are the training objectives. Then last but not least in the plan, the 3 more steps. Okay, yearly volume. What is your yearly volume going to be? What are those periods I've been talking about, and what's the weekly volume? My ATP is based on TSS, training stress load. So what is that? That means if you train with a power meter, you can actually very accurately measure the stress of each training, which is expressed in TSS points. So I've based my plan, as described in the book by Joe, on 35,000 TSS a year, which is quite ambitious again, but that's what it's based on. The other alternative is to base it on a number of hours. So 35,000 TSS is probably equivalent to about 600 hours of training in the year. Don't worry, it doesn't have to be so much. You can perfectly build a plan around 300 hours or 200 hours, but of course you will have to be probably a little bit less ambitious than if you train less. That's a general rule, of course. Then the periods. I focused my season more as half a season. I'm looking January to August, knowing that as of September, I probably already start looking forward to the rest. But so I've already started planning those 6-7 months in the different periods, which are base, build, peak, race, and transition. So race is when you try to achieve those goals, those seasonal goals, then you're in the race period. In the peak period, short period, when you try to do the last bits and pieces to get you in race shape. And base and build is really where you lay the foundation, right? In base, you work on your base abilities, like your anaerobic endurance, for example, which is a key one. And in build, you focus on those abilities that you're going to need to race. So in my case, I need to build abilities that would make me a better time trialist or a better climber. Hence, that ties into my training objectives, right? Which have been built around being a better time trialist or climber. Finally, the transition period, that's after the race, when you move either to the next race, you probably do again a short build, a peak and a race period, or when you go off season. Other video maybe later on this season to describe this a little bit in more detail. Finally, weekly volume. So once you have your annual volume, in my case TSS based, you need to start to plan every single week. And in my case, that ends up between 500 and 850 TSS a week. I was doing quite okay in January, although all of the training was indoor, again, by being a little bit sick. This week, that has been slipping slightly, but okay, no panic yet, because actually that brings me to my very last point for this video, which is be prepared to make changes, because change is the only constant in life, and the weather is bad, you get sick, and so on. So also the book of Joe Friel deals with this, how to make changes in your plan. Of course, you can't do miracles, but like now, it's still early in the season. If you can't do what you wanted to do because of sickness, because of the weather, don't panic, adapt the plan, keep the focus, stay positive, and try to still reach those goals. And that's it for today. I hope it was interesting. Next videos, always open for suggestions, but as you can see, many topics in this one where we could go deeper in one of the next videos later on. So thanks, signing off for today, and keep on training, guys. Ciao.
Check this.